rec therapy, life enrichment, whatever we want to call it, it's no different than the VR that maybe our youth are using, that our teenagers are using at home under their Oculus or whatever they're wearing. It's very similar, but it is very much designed for our seniors. So when you look at what VR is, it's essentially you're putting on something. It's a headset, it's glasses, it's goggles, it's something that you're wearing. It's innovative technology. It immerses that person, whoever's wearing it, into this computer-generated, multi-sensory, three-dimensional world. What's lovely about it is that they can interact in that environment.
Hello, friend. Welcome. I'm your host, Carlene Cadet Francois from Florida Assisted Living Consulting. We help busy professionals convert buildings into thriving assisted living communities and group homes throughout the state of Florida. We are also the organizers behind the annual Assisted Living and Caregivers Conference for caregiving entrepreneurs. Today, we are here with an amazing guest. And before we get started, we are also trying to reach our first 5,000 subscribers. So you can help us with this goal by subscribing and also sharing it with someone that will find it valuable. Today's topic, I am super excited to dive into this topic as I'm pretty sure I'm talking about me and you here, are trying to find ways to make life easier for seniors to help them live a better life. Today's topic is how virtual reality can improve senior care. And I am sitting down with Dr. Kathleen Weissberg. I am so excited to sit with Dr. Kathleen Weissberg, a nationally recognized occupational therapist, educator, and thought leader with over 30 years experience in rehabilitation and long-term care. As the National Director of Education for Select Rehabilitation, she trains over 3,000 healthcare professionals nationwide. Dr. Weissberg is passionate about bringing innovation to senior care, from dementia support to her current focus, how virtual reality VR is transforming therapy, engagement, and quality of life for older adults. Oh my God, so much said. Dr. Weissberg, could you please introduce yourself and welcome?
Thank you. Hi, everyone who's listening. I appreciate you tuning in. My name is Kathleen Weissberg. So I am an occupational therapist by background. I currently serve as the National Director of Education with Select Rehabilitation. We are a national provider of PT, OT, and speech services across, I think last count was like 46 states, something like that. I live in the state of Delaware. I'll tell you what I'm most proud of. In my background, I am certified as a Montessori dementia care practitioner, a certified dementia care practitioner, and a trauma-informed educator. I serve for the American Occupational Therapy Association Political Action Committee. I'm on their board, and I'm also an adjunct professor at a couple research universities. So right now, my research is taking me mostly toward technology, really looking not just at VR, but looking at AI and how can we use all of these tools to support our seniors and really to improve quality of life. So that's what you need to know, I guess.
I love that. I love that. So much said. You're like, I am a genius, but I am so humble.
Hardly.
I'm just going to put it really, really, really in a really nice way. So that's all I have to say. I love that.
Well, the best parts of me are my family and my friends and all of the things that bring meaning and purpose. But I could talk about that for eons. We'll keep on topic for today. How about that?
I love that. You do so much within the caregiving industry. I mean, you just said a mouthful here. And if we were to break it down a little bit, in the land of making life easier for seniors and using innovations and teaching in colleges, what inspired you to go that route?
I have to go way back to what made me want to be an occupational therapist. I have to be honest with you. That's really what inspired me. And I'll share, maybe I shouldn't, but I will. OT was not the initial profession that I wanted to pursue. I wanted to be an engineer, truth be told. And I don't really know what happened, but I went to this medical explorers meeting and I learned all about OT and innovations to truly make life easier, to help everyone, seniors, our youth, et cetera, to do more for themselves. And as I've, transitioned along my career path, I think what I've done is, and I will tell you, I started early on researching, the world of computers and how can that help. I maintain and do an online platform for CE. So I've always been into like the tech world. So I kind of think I've maybe married, engineering and rehab together. And that's really what drives me. It's what I've always loved. And I love the idea of helping people, and particularly helping our caregivers to make their lives easier. Just, for the fact that caregiving is a hard job and oftentimes a thankless job. I think we all know that. Whether we are paid caregivers or not paid caregivers, it's tough. So anything we can do to make that easier, that's what inspires me.
I love that. We had a therapist that was also here. She coupled her therapy background with real estate. It's always fascinating to see how creative we can be with our gifts. And we talk about making life easier. And I know one of the ways that you do that is using VR, virtual reality. What is that?
Yeah.
And how can someone begin to use that?
It's a great question. So, I'll back up. I'll go backward to go forward. VR in rehab, VR in therapy or in assisted living, in activities, rec therapy, life enrichment, whatever we want to call it. It's no different than the VR that maybe our youth are using, that our teenagers are using at home under their Oculus or whatever they're wearing. It's very similar, but it is very much designed for our seniors. So when you look at what VR is, it's essentially you're putting on something. It's a headset, it's glasses, it's goggles, it's something that you're wearing. It's innovative technology. It immerses that person, whoever's wearing it, into this computer-generated, multi-sensory, three-dimensional world. What's lovely about it is that they can interact in that environment, interact in that world, again, using that headset, maybe using therapy equipment. And again, there's a ton of companies out there doing this, but it just really depends on what they set up for that environment and what experiences are available. Some of those are truly computer generated, where they design, they create this environment. Others are, you can go to Paris and see the Eiffel Tower. You can go to the Serengeti. You can go, whitewater rafting. So there's nature, there's a true photos, pictures, immersive play. You can go back to your home where you grew up. There's a lot of immersion in there. Again, some of it's computer generated, some of it is more natural in the environment. But that's the whole point. It is computer generated. It's immersive and it's three-dimensional versus, looking at a picture or doing a paper pencil task or something that is more two-dimensional.
Love that, because as our seniors become older and, it's only a matter of time, some are not interested in the typical activities. And
Right.
So having something that they can explore right where they are in their current state or situation is priceless. What does that look like? How do one implement that, whether they are at home at an ALF, or if a grandchild is listening to this and they're like, oh, grandpa would love this. How do they begin to implement having that for their loved one?
Yeah, it's a great question. If you are in a senior living community, so an ALF or, some other facet of senior living, I think for that group, it's going to be a little bit different, because I think they can connect with a company that, is doing this. And there are several out there. All you need to do is use your search engine, Google or whatever you're using, and search virtual reality in healthcare or in senior living, and you'll find easily 5 or 6 companies that are doing this work. You talk to them, they will, again, I can't speak for everyone, but typically what will happen is then you just get those headsets from them and all of the content that comes along with it. I don't know what the charges are for those. What I will say is that in the past, even in the past 5 years since I've started looking at this, the cost of this innovation, the cost of this technology has declined dramatically, and its use has increased. The quality of the product that is out there is so much better than it's ever been, and the cost has come down. So it's not cost prohibitive. I will also say that there are a lot of grants out there available to folks to put these into their communities. Now, if you are an individual user, I think to that end, you could probably do the same and maybe just do like one headset. But again, Oculus is the one that comes to mind for me, which is out there in the public domain that you can access. But again, if you just look for a senior living type of VR, you can connect with those organizations. And a lot of them, again, are paired with other groups. Maybe it's the VA, or maybe it is an assisted living or what have you, and can get that headset with you, for you, at a lower cost, and make it available. So hopefully that answers that question. It's hard to say. Most of what my work has been in senior living, where they set up contracts to have these headsets available.
Thank you. I always start these episodes, I'm like, I'm excited, because not only my audience are going to learn a lot, but I'm also going to learn a lot, because sometimes even the information that there's an angle that you may have not looked at it from that angle.
That's true. I'm just going to piggyback on what you said, because you're talking about using it at home or as a caregiver or whatever. And I would say that is the beauty of VR, is that I can use this in a community. I can use it at home. I can use it, wherever. It's so portable. And I'm thinking about like that person who may have exercises to do or something. Why not use a headset at home or in the outpatient clinic or at an ALF or whatever? There's just so many opportunities to take this many places.
I love that. Thank you for explaining that. And I also know that you do a lot of work in dementia training, and you also have some training in that area as well. How do VR actually and dementia and dementia training, how are they related?
How much time do you have? Goodness gracious, I could talk on that for hours. I think I'd have to start with just by saying, what's happening with our individuals who have dementia as they progress in their disease process? What's going on? I mean, we see obviously functional changes. So we think at that early stage of dementia, maybe going into the moderate stages, where I may struggle with meal preparation or paying my bills or using the phone or managing my medications, like some of those IADL types of activities. As I seg into that middle stage, I see emotional changes. I see BPSD. You've probably heard that term, the behavioral and psychological symptoms of dementia. So I could see agitation. I don't mean to label, but agitation or aggression or hallucinations or sleep changes, etc. I see a lot of social changes, again, as I go along. And then when I get into that end stage, I'm very sensory oriented. And to that end, and I broke it down kind of that way because VR can work at every single level there. So we are seeing VR used to simulate making a cup of coffee, putting together a sandwich, putting together my pill box according to my medications, when I should take them, etc. And does that take the place of a real world example? No, of course not. You always want to have hands-on stuff. But where that real world example may not be safe for that individual or safe yet for that individual, it's a nice opportunity to simulate some of that stuff. The other thing that we're seeing, and again, early, middle stage, maybe even late stage, we're using a lot of VR for cognitive types of things, just easy things like popping balloons or catching butterflies, simple, we call it gaming or gamer size, whatever we want to call it, the gamification of it, a simple puzzle, maybe it's a simple crossword or something where we can continue to work on some of that cognition. And we are absolutely seeing changes. I am Montessori trained. We've embedded, not we necessarily, but the VR world has embedded a lot of Montessori types of things into those headsets. And I won't get into all of the research on Montessori, but it's super strong for retaining function and quality of life. So to focus on some of that, simple matching and stuff like that. I would say one of the big areas we're seeing with dementia specifically is in that area of BPSD. So I can get out into a field of lavender. I can get into a pen of puppies, and who doesn't want to hang out with 10 puppies, right? Some golden retriever puppies. Or I can be on the beach. I can look at a sunset. I could go on and on and on. All of these things that help to relax, all of these things that will help to decrease anxiety, decrease that aggression without the use of psychotropic medications, which we all know in every senior living community is looking at those to where can we deprescribe. So we have some opportunities there. And I did say, how much time do you have? Pain management is a whole other area. where again, we're using the VR, forgive the way I'm going to say it, it's almost like a distraction that I'm
Wow.
focused on that sunset or, I don't know, a trip to Barcelona or something, and I'm not ruminating on my pain. So that's a big one. The two other things I want to talk about, I think, are the social changes, and we have seen amazing results with VR here. And I think about, maybe a family comes in to visit with their loved one. Hey, what'd you have for breakfast today? Did you go to therapy? How did you sleep? And then we sit there. Sorry for doing it that way. Like, we sit there. We don't know how to
That's how it happens.
It's how it happens. We don't know how to have a good visit, a good quality visit when mom or dad doesn't know me anymore. They don't recognize me or something.
Yeah.
So we can use VR that person under the headset is connecting with, the brother or sister across the country that they haven't seen for a while. Or we reminisce about a favorite vacation to Myrtle Beach or, whatever it happens to be. So we have that social aspect. And I won't get into the research, but the research has been really strong where we see individuals with dementia actually improve their communication. They talk more, they engage more. We've seen improvements in long-term memory, which is kind of surprising. You don't think about that with dementia, but all related to VR. And I think my final thing, and then I'll be quiet about this until you ask the next question, and I'm sure I could go on for hours. The other thing, I mentioned that late stage dementia where we look at that multisensory. And, for some of us, maybe we have a multisensory room, a Nazellan or Snoozelen, however you want to pronounce it, that type of environment. VR can do the same thing. Like, these headsets are so amazing. So there's the vision, but then there's also sound. There are ways that I can also bring scent into it. So for example, I could have somebody touring the bread factory under their VR headset. All the while I have this scent of bread or cookies or something. And it makes you feel relaxed. It makes you feel like home. On the flip side, I could be in that, orange grove or lemon grove or something. And then I have this citrus smell coming in and it's uplifting. So I look at those multi-sensory types of things that, again, are just the sky. I guess that's it. The sky is the limit. You dream it, it's there. There are just thousands and thousands of applications within that headset, within that tablet that you can choose from.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. You explain it so beautifully in different angles. The only thing I probably would ask about that is can that be used to reduce caregivers' burnout? Because caregivers caring for everyone else, and we're so focused on everyone else, but what about ourselves?
From the caregiving aspect, I'm going to talk about a couple of things. The first is that, part of our caregiving is, I hate to say it this way, the person will say, when's lunch? When's lunch? When's lunch? When's my daughter coming? When's my daughter? So you have these questions coming up that it's hard. You give the answer, but you're answering the question over and over and over. And so oftentimes when we can give that person something that is engaging, something that's meaningful, whether it's under VR or it's some other activity, oftentimes folks in any segment of senior living, I call it busy doing nothing. They're doing nothing. But when we're busy doing something that we enjoy, I'm active, right? I'm engaged in that. And maybe I don't have nearly as many questions. And for the caregiver, that's very helpful to them. It reduces that burden. What it also does is it improves the social interaction that they're not always just answering questions. They're talking, they're engaging, they're together in that space. So that's one piece of it. From the caregiving, you asked specifically about, burden. I will tell you, we're using VR in two ways specifically for our caregivers. One is that, and it's really cool if you can experience it, you can get onto that headset as a caregiver. You can see and experience what the resident is experiencing, what the individual is experiencing.
Oh, wow.
So you can see through their eyes what a day in the life someone with dementia kind of looks like. And is it exact? No. But what it does is it really helps to increase empathy, increase understanding. And there was a study done in 2024 on this very topic where it not just only did that, but what it did is, again, it increased, it solidified that bond between the caregiver and the individual. The other thing that we're doing for our caregivers, again, with VR is training, and I'll say coping mechanisms, but maybe that's not the right word. If you remember, I don't know, I'm showing my age, those books that we used to have, the choose your own adventure books, where you're on a page and you have to choose what to do. And if you choose this, you go to that page. And if you choose this, you go to that page. We're doing the same thing with training with VR. So you have a scenario, an individual with dementia, and it pauses, and then it'll say, what would you do here as a caregiver? And you have a couple of options. You choose an option and the resident does whatever. And then you kind of learn, is that a good option, or should I have done something differently? And there's really no good or bad, but maybe there was a better option than what they chose. So we're doing a lot of caregiver training that way too. Very real life scenarios that, you know, we don't want to have necessarily in real life. So those are the things that we want to simulate. So really good opportunities for caregivers.
Wow. That is amazing too. That level of empathy, when you know exactly what this person is going through, you literally care differently, because I was introduced to the world of dementia when I became a caregiver, not for my own parents, but I managed an ALF, and I saw how hurtful it was when both mom and dad don't remember their one son. You
That's
know,
right.
it's just so terrible. But if you can see what they go through, you're not so focused on the pain of,
On
oh, my
you.
parents don't remember me. You're focused on, oh, they're going through so much.
Yeah.
And that level of education. I mean, what else do you do? What else?
It's
What else
well,
do
it's,
you
you
do?
know, and what's neat about that is it's not only empathy. I'm going to take out a page out of dementia training. We meet them where they are. And so, yeah, you don't necessarily remember me per se, but I know that you love to bake. I know you love to fish. I know whatever. I can pull that under the VR headset with them and engage over something together. And I know that's meaningful to you. And you may not remember that we did that together as a family or something like that, but it somewhere deep inside it kind of touches them. And I will say that, because I'm talking about, you know, the caregiver, the family, whatever, being under the same headset, we can do that. We can link up, you know, again, in those like earlier stages of dementia or moderate stage, or really for anybody, it doesn't have to be dementia related, that I can link up 3, 4, 5 headsets. So, you know, if somebody moves in and they're like, oh, you know, I always love to travel, but you can't travel anymore. I really always wanted to get to Australia and I missed the opportunity. Well, you know, we can do that under a headset, and then we can talk about it. And you have like these travel log programs that are so much fun for folks to get involved in, you know, again, just not to miss out on those experiences. So it's a nice opportunity.
I love it. And looking ahead, I mean, I can see 5 years from now, where do you see technology, specifically VR, being implemented? People are using it for different things. Where do you see that going?
Goodness gracious, that's a loaded question. I sincerely hope that it is much more widely used than it is today. I will say that CMS is looking at this pretty strongly, and without getting into kind of the weeds there, I know when we're using it in a clinic setting, so I'm a therapist, PT, OT, speech, we all use it. Our folks, it's amazing. The carryover of exercise programs, 30% greater doing a program via VR than just using those papers that somebody sends home. We're using it for remote therapeutic monitoring to some degree to make sure that that person who is in their living space is doing okay. They're getting up, they're walking, they're moving. Some amazing research coming out of the VA, coming out of CMS about the utility of it, the efficacy of it. We are tracking via CPT codes right now, procedural codes, billing codes. There's no dollars associated with them, but we track when we did a session And we used virtual reality. So CMS is starting to see that, yeah, folks are using this, and it's absolutely paying dividends. So I hope that it is going to be more widely used because it's going to be more widely accepted. I do hope that in the very near future, it will be reimbursed as a separate entity, because I think there's just so much benefit to it in the therapeutic world, in the activity world, in the caregiver world. So that is my hope. I hope that too, I guess. I think maybe, we alluded to this earlier on. Are there drawbacks? Yeah, for sure. And some of our folks, again, dementia or no, they don't like the headset. It's heavy, it's hot, it's claustrophobic, it's whatever. So I hope, and I do suspect that in the near future, some of those bulkier types of headsets are going to be dramatically smaller, and you'll be just putting on a pair of like sunglasses essentially, or those blue blockers, like when you have surgery or something. So I think the technology is going to get that much better. I think the graphics inside are going to get that much better. I think we're going to be able to add more multi-sensory components to it. And that's always going to be beneficial for all of our residents, not just those with dementia. And I see it being more widely used than it is today. We have to continue, though, to talk about it and to do the research and talk about all of the benefits and show that in statistics and show that in numbers, I think, for that to happen.
I love that. And I
Long
am
answer.
also excited to see where it can go, like with technology and everything else. I'm excited to see what 5 years from now look like. Super
Yeah.
excited for that. And so many aspects of caregiving, the use of AI, the use of different type of equipment. I'm
Yeah.
just so excited to see. Is there any particular story, like a story that stood out to you of how it improved their lives?
Yeah, absolutely. I can share that. And I do need to just say one more thing before I go on, because you just mentioned AI. What I failed to say, and I need to be clear to say, is that while I'm under that headset, you, the caregiver, the therapist, whoever, you have a tablet. You see exactly what I see, which is awesome. So you can see if somebody's starting to, have some stress or whatever, you can see exactly what's going on. And I do believe that AI will factor into this as we go along, because the more I choose specific activities, it's going to recognize those are my patterns and that's what I like. So I felt like I needed to say that.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to give you a very personal success story of my father, who I used VR with. So my dad is 83. About maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, he went into the hospital and he was in the ICU for, I don't know, easily 3 days before they moved him to a general floor in a very, very, very well-known hospital. I won't name it, but very well-known, very reputable. He was there ultimately a full week. And I happened to be there on day of discharge, and they precisely spent 7 minutes, 8 minutes going through his discharge instructions, which I was blown away. I'm like,
Wow.
that's just not enough time. So here's my dad, went home and couldn't set up his pillbox. He was just so overwhelmed. He was on new medications. Other medications had been cut, and he just didn't know where to start. And of course, as I'm looking at it with him, I was on a Zoom call with him, or however we were doing it. Every single pill was white. So I couldn't even say, like, take one blue pill, one white pill, one red pill, whatever. So, and my mom just set it up for him, from the get-go. But I then used VR with him. And I had his medications, his dosage. We could set it up that way. His pill box, once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day, whatever. And we did it via VR. So he would go to this very cluttered medicine cabinet, pull out his meds, set it up virtually, and we practiced it so many times in the virtual world. He was then able to just go right to his medicine cabinet, pull out what he needed, put it in his medicine in his pill box, and still does it to this day. So I should share, my dad, not only whatever else he has going on, but he also has dementia. So he's going into that moderate stage, and it was nice. It was nice to see him say, wow, I did that. I understand that. And it was a neat accomplishment for him. So that's a great success story that it kind of hits home for me.
Wow, that is beautiful. That is
Thank you.
so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I just want to say I commend you for doing that, because I assume that it took time and patience to actually do it with him, and to the
It
point
does.
where he was actually able to do it himself, and it shows the love of a daughter. And you should be proud. I'm proud of you for doing that. But that's an amazing
It's
story.
good.
It really is.
I'm proud of him. But, the takeaway is that's just one story. There are many of those stories out there. I may have shared with you, my son just went through knee surgery, and he, got his paper, his home exercise program. He's like, okay, just bored to tears with it. He's doing his exercises with VR, having a blast. So for him, it's like gaming. It's like no different than his PlayStation or whatever it is that he plays on every day. And he's having a good time. So 2 days post surgery, he already had like 90 degrees range of motion. So
Wow.
again, another different example. Here's a youth that, again, it makes it fun. It makes it engaging. We forget we're exercising. We forget we're in therapy. We're in a different world.
I love it. I think I'm going to try it for exercise. Yeah,
It
I'm
works.
definitely going to try it for exercise. And thank you for sharing these stories. And I'm definitely very proud of your dad, because it had to be a hard thing for him to do, but the accomplishment is just so amazing.
Yeah,
Any last word for my audience?
Goodness gracious. No, I don't think so. I guess my message would be go find someone who sells this equipment, who has this equipment, try it on for size. Hearing about it is one thing, seeing it, living it, experiencing it is a whole other thing that I think once you do, you're going to say, yeah, I want to do this. And then on your own side, once you do, find your success stories. There's a saying, what is it? What gets managed, gets done, or whatever it is. I don't know. What gets measured gets managed. Maybe that's it. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Measure it. Is it being used? What are the benefits? And that is, I hate to bring it to marketing, but that's a great selling feature for any community. Look at how we're using technology. And, we used to market to our adult children of our residents. Now we're marketing to the residents themselves who really want that technology, that forward thought. And this is just the beginning of that cutting edge. So go experience it.
I love it. And how
sure.
can they find Select Rehabilitation?
Sure. You can find us online. We are selectrehab.com. You can find me on there. If you see who we are in our leadership team, you'll see my picture there, a little eye roll there. And I'm sure my contact information is there, but you can also find me, Kay Weissberg, just like my name, at selectrehab.com. If you have questions or want more information, or, want to know some companies who are doing this, reach out. I would love to talk more with your folks.
I love it. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and educate my people. I really appreciate it. And guys, please reach out to Miss Kathleen and let her know what was your big aha moment. I'm sure you'll find her email and contact information. We'll link her information in the description as well. And please consider subscribe, share the knowledge with someone that will find it valuable. And until next time, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Talk soon.